Hello, and welcome to TMath 115, our hybrid class. I'm your instructor, Brock Leach, and I want to show you a little bit of the ins and outs of how I've set this class up, what my expectations are, how you can navigate this successfully, and a little bit is that I will be updating this, but of course I will let you know of any updates. And of course, if there's anything that I'm expecting of you that comes due, it should show in the to-do section over here, which is always kind of your reminder of what's coming due and what it is and the links to get to them. I've set it up in here for your convenience. Do this first. If you are listening to this recording, you've already clicked on that. Right now, I just have the syllabus under there. But I'm going to also have a discussion board that has any that you can question. You can post general questions about the course, clarifications you might need, and all of that. Here I have the links for our Zooms. I know right now there's a Zoom link here, but I'm going to try to remove that so there's no confusion. This is what you should always use, whether you're coming to my office hour, which is listed here, or you're logging into our Zoom session as a class. I will also post any past Zoom recordings every time we meet, which our meeting times, in-person meeting times, are on Fridays. Most of the time we're going to meet on Zoom, but there will be a couple where we meet in person. And even in those times we meet in person, I will be recording those on Zoom. So if you cannot be there in person, you can log in live using the Zoom link, or you can listen to the recording if you're not able to be there live. I do give extra credit at the end of the quarter for those who are there in person. You can log in, but you won't earn that extra credit, which is just a little bit of extra credit I put in there, as well as there'll be other opportunities for extra credit. Usually my extra credit will add up to 1, maybe 2% of your overall grade, but I wouldn't worry about that too much. But I do encourage you to be there in person if you can, but I do understand for some of you that's just not an option. Below that, I have these arranged by weeks, and they go from Saturday through Friday. So for week 1, for example, we have a few assignments here. One of the things that I always have is a discussion board for questions that come up during your homework while you're working through things. Questions relating to specific problems within the homework that you can go in here and reply to the general post that I have and with your question. And then I encourage students to try to answer those questions, but then I will chime in there for what as well, especially if I don't see students chiming in. The more time you can get to yourself, the better, because I'm not up at midnight when you might be working on your homework at the last minute, because all the homework is pretty much due at 11:59 p.m. Notice that if I go to 12 a.m., it actually bumps it into the next day. So it's always 11:59 p.m., but I will usually say midnight. So if you want a quick answer to a question, or if you want an answer to a question before it comes due, you need to work on this ahead of time. I usually don't check my computer after 5 or 6, but I do try to check it several times a day. So there's usually a 2-day in between when homeworks come due. I should say homework and not homeworks. Homework assignments come due. So here's where you can get immediate help. Also in my office hours, like I said, Monday and Wednesday that I have. If you forget it, it's on the link itself. So those are for questions. I have them in every week. Question for week 2, homework discussion boards. So try to put them in the right week. Let's go back here. Then I have a video lesson, and then we have a video quiz, and we have our homework. Now these links actually take you into The Access Pearson, the Pearson website, the My Math Lab is how I usually refer to it as. And so let's go to this next here. When you log into Pearson, I actually need to leave student view here. You're the first time you log in, and you need to log into Pearson and register using the Canvas link here. Do not go to their website and try to register that way. You need to register through here. Reason why is because this will tie you to my specific class, and you want that because even if you go to their website, do the whole login there, it'll ask you for a class code, and even if I give you that code, it still will not allow you to register. You have to do it through the Canvas page. So anyway, there's several options that you'll have. I'm already registered and I can't do it as a student, but so I wish I could show you the video for it. But what you want to get is a multi-quarter access, because if you're taking 115, most likely you're going to take 116 next quarter, and so you want this subscription to carry on into the next quarter. Keep in mind that most quarters are about 11 to 12 weeks, and then for this is a fall quarter class right now that I'm speaking to. So there's also a 3-week break after that. I don't want you to run into the situation where you have to pay a second time. So the more you can pay this first time, the better it is going to be for you. If you can't do it at this particular moment, at the very bottom there's an option to use a 2-week trial period, and then at the end of the 2 weeks you will have to pay. But if you don't have the money because of financial aid reasons, or you're not sure you're kind of doing this class as a test to see how if you like it, and you're not sure you're going to stick around the whole time, you do have 2 weeks to kind of make that decision before they ask you to commit and pay for the program. When you go into My Math Lab and Mastering, just give it a minute to load up. Let me go to the student view. Let's see, how do I do the student view? Oh. You'll see mostly just the calendar here. Keep in mind what day it is. Today's the 24th. You can see on Friday there are 2 assignments coming due. If you click on that date, the links to those 2 things appear here. After you've watched the lecture video, which is linked in YouTube, but the link there in Canvas will take you to YouTube. I do apologize for any short commercials you have to watch before you can hit skip. I know it's annoying, but that's the easiest way to link the video lessons, because they carry a lot of storage. So Canvas can't handle that storage, so we do it that way. After you watch the video lectures, you want to take a quick quiz. This is a 15-minute quiz at the very most. You have 15 minutes to complete it, and you can do it twice. Every video quiz allows you to do it 2 times. And basically what I ask you is questions about the video to make sure that you've watched it, right? And you've taken notes, you've paid attention, you didn't just run a video in the background. So this is just a quick quiz over some major concepts within the video that you should be able to quickly reference with your notes. And I'll show you there's also PowerPoints you can download for each of these lectures. Once you've done that, then you're ready to go into the homework problems. And I'm going to go ahead and work one of these problems here with you. On all of these, you have up to 3 chances, 2 or 3, I can't remember, but I think it's at the very least 2 times to get it right before you have to regenerate a new question, which as long as you answer that one, you'll get it correct. So here it's asking you to do the distance between P and Q. I don't have that answer or a calculator right in front of me. So I'm going to go to here. You can see I've already worked this problem, but I'm going to ask it to give me a similar question. With all of these, excuse me, problems that you have, you can run as many similar questions. You can see I've already gotten points for this, and those points are saved. They are saved per question. So there's no way for me to lose that point once I've gained it, even if I take a similar question and mess up within that process. All right, so here's a question. If the x-coordinate of a point is 0, where does that point lie? Well, if the x-coordinate is 0, then we know we're going to be on the y-axis. So I'm going to do it incorrectly here. Okay, told me it was incorrect. It's going to give you a little blurb there. I'm going to get it wrong again. Okay, blah, blah, blah. And now I'm going to get it right. This is your final check. Okay, I got it right within the 2 or 3 times allotted to me. Now it goes on to the next question. It says plot the point -3, 4. So I'm going to go to -3, +4. Again, if I missed that up, it would have given me another try. -3 and 4.5, so -3, and we're going to go to 4.5. If you want to blow this up, you can do it on a larger scale here. I believe you can even make this larger. Maybe not. But looking at this, we can see each line has a value of 1/2 because there's a line and then -1. So each of these has a value of half. Both on the x and the y axis, they don't always have to match up. So always double check what your units are or what they're given in. We'll check that answer. Well done. And let's see, -3, 5. So we're going to go up here. -3 and 1. And -3 and 2. All right. It's going to ask me one more thing. Describe the set of points of the form -3 and then y, meaning y could be any number at all, or y is just a real number. What do we get? Well, we can see kind of what it's forming here is a vertical line that passes through the x-axis at -3. Check my answer. Great. So I got my point again, but it just didn't change. Now it takes me to question 2. I can hop around and do a bunch of these. So if I run into problems, I can use the Help Me Solve This. Now, if I use Help Me Solve This, it's going to take me step by step through this problem. The problem with Help Me Solve This is it's going to use this same question. It's going to help you go through that process. But then, so you know, kind of gives you hints. But in order to get the point, you're going to have to run a whole different problem. So don't use this as your go-to. First of all, try to do this yourself. If you don't, try an example next. And it's going to give you the formula here. You plug these in and yada, yada, yada. If you look at the example, and I'm going to go through this, it takes you step by step through the example, shows you all the work until you get to the end of it. And you can scroll back, but then you come to the end. All right. Notice that I didn't have to change this problem. Now I can go through and do this problem using that as an example. That's the better way to go than using Help Me Solve This. But for all of these, don't depend on the Help Me Solve This and get an example. If you do so, you're probably doing it because you didn't watch the lecture video, you didn't take notes, you didn't pay attention. So try to look back at your notes and all that first, because I go through almost all these types of problems in the lecture. Not all these types of problems, but I show you how to use the different formulas to do different things. And you may want to draw this out. You may want to draw a little grid and plot these points on it. And sometimes that visual enough is going to give you some clues. Um, so don't try to rely on these too much. What I find is that when it comes to the test, you won't have these. If you haven't been able to work through this problem successfully without relying on these other two things, you don't end up doing as well as you kind of deceive yourself into thinking, oh, I got all these questions done, so I must know it now. If you ever have to rely on this or this to get through a problem, that's fine. There are going to be problems where these come in handy. You can also do this, but I wouldn't, more than ask my instructor, I wouldn't do that because it just sends me an email and I don't see those unless I go into my email. And I'm mostly communicating with you through Canvas, so that doesn't send it to my Canvas. And I don't check the email as often as I do check Canvas. But if you do have to rely on these things, make sure you regenerate a couple more problems, work through them without relying on any of that. Then you can feel a little more confident that you've done this before on your own and that you've kind of quote unquote mastered that topic. That's really key. Is when you do a test, it isn't let me try to figure this out now. This is a timed situation where you've got to get it done within the time frame. And if you don't, it means you haven't mastered that particular topic. All right. That's why we do have time limits on tests. It's not like homework where you have all the time in the world, at least up until the due date. Now, let me talk about this. From each due date, which this one, sorry, that's my dog. From the due date, you have 20% that's deducted per day on any individual questions that you didn't complete. So that doesn't mean it's deducting the whole assignment by 20%. It simply means any individual questions that you didn't quite finish takes off 20%. And so after 5 days, it's done. Unless we change the due date, right? So try to get as much as you can and get your questions answered. Let me go back to our original place here. That's why I have the discussion boards. Those are there to get help on some of the more difficult questions. You can watch all the lectures that I have and take perfect notes, but until you start really working this stuff out on paper, and that's what I encourage you to do, is get a notebook and start labeling and organizing yourself within that notebook so you have a reference to look back to. Create a place for notes, create a place for your exercises, write these down. The things that you write down, you remember better. It goes into your kind of deep storage in your brain. So I encourage you to write those down. And try to do these before, as much as you can, the due date. So for each week, you see that these should be lined up. If I make any changes, sometimes it will change things. If I change things in my math lab, sometimes it takes some time, even if I refresh it. Usually it'll refresh it, but with technology, nothing is ever perfect. But if you use this in your calendar, in my math lab, and here, you shouldn't run into any surprises. That pretty much sums it up. Now, as far as our meeting times go, we are going to meet in person this Friday. I can't remember if I said that or not because it's the second time I've made this video. The first time it didn't record any of my audio. We are going to meet in person on campus in the classroom that's on your schedule. So basically, I want to help get out any problems that you're running into technology-wise. I want us to meet each other face-to-face. We'll do a couple of things that probably won't necessarily take us the whole hour, but I will take questions as well on any of the questions that you ran into. And we'll probably work some problems together. And every time we meet, in fact, I'm going to have some problems for you to work through, call those my 15-minute check. And it's just a warm-up exercise for us to kind of get going on the material. And so whether we're meeting in person or we're meeting online, I'm going to give you some review problems to start working with, either in groups or individually, and then we go over those together. And this is going to help us really know how well we know the topic. So come prepared to our class on Friday with at least some of the homework completed from what's coming due on Friday. Show me that you've worked on it a little bit. Look forward to meeting you all in person. Every other meeting may be online, but there will be a couple others where we do meet in person. I know that those of you who can't be there, I understand that. You're not going to get any guilt trips from me. But if you can be there, that's usually the best. Looking forward to meeting you all in person. And with that, I'm going to end this recording.